So this is going to be a knife collection video. I've never done one of these on the knives I have and everything, so I decided to do one of these. These are just the knives that I bought as an adult. I have a bunch of other knives that I bought when I was like a kid at like the flea market, at like farmers markets and stuff. We all know those knives that you get at like farmers markets, flea markets and stuff. You know, the cheap knives and like the old rusty knives. I mean, about the only good knife that I have from my childhood years of buying knives is this old Barlow that I actually do keep in my main collection. The rest of my knives that I bought when I was a child a different go in a different spot because they're not knives that I would ever actually use or carry. But anyway, so this is my knife collection as of right now. It is August of 2018. So let's just start. So this is actually my newest knife, an Opinel number 8, I believe is the number on this, the carbon one. I bought it for, I think it was like $15 at Cabela's. It's a cool knife design. It's interesting. The blade does definitely rust if you don't keep it oiled. At least it has in my experience because I sweat an awful lot. And keeping this in my jean pockets, it was getting covered with my sweat and was rusting. So I have it covered in some vegetable oil because that way I figure it's food safe. So if I still want to do some food prep with that knife, it's completely food safe to do that. And it'll keep the blade from rusting. So yeah, that's the newest knife, the Opinel. Beside that, I have one of my most carried knives and one of my favorite knives, the Case Sodbuster. This is the full size Sodbuster, and this one has the like navy blue Delrin handles, which are pretty beat up from me taking pliers and pushing the handles back together to stop there being excessive blade play and everything. But yeah, for like probably like a year, this is pretty much what I carried. So it's one of my most carried knives, and I really do like this knife. And most of the time, when I go back from carrying a new knife, I just go back to the Case Sodbuster because it's one of my favorite knives. Beside that is my other most carried knife. This one and the Case Sodbuster are the ones that I've carried the longest. This is a Benchmade 300-1. It's got the blue and black scale handles, which I think is why it's the -1. The pocket clip fell off of this forever ago. So that's kind of annoying, but it's whatever. This was back in the days when I didn't really use pocket clips a whole lot. But anyway, this blade is 154 cm, so holds an edge pretty well and everything, and I carried it for a very long time. You can see by use on the blade there's like a spot of rust that did some damage to the blade, and it's kind of scratched up from me trying to get rust off of it with steel wool and everything, because these blades do rust if they're covered in sweat and everything, which is something that happens when you carry your knife a lot and don't really pay a whole lot of attention to it. Coolest thing about this knife is obviously the access lock. It's, one of my favorite locks. I'd have more Benchmades if they weren't so expensive. But yeah, so this is the most expensive knife I own. But yeah. Next to that, I have the CRKT Pillar, or Pilar, or whatever. The blade on this one's kind of messed up because I attempted to polish it with sandpaper and shit. So at some point, I'll probably buy another one of these. It's just not going to happen anytime soon, really. But yeah, I like this knife. It's small. The shape of the blade is cool. The whole reason I bought this knife is just because I thought it looked really cool. it's a frame lock, so it's not gonna have any issues with the liner lock bending or anything. But yeah, I mean, it's a small knife and it's a really cool blade shape, and I do like that knife. Next to that, I have the Ontario Rat 1. This is the AUS 8 model. They make it in D2 as well. It's a little bit more expensive. I picked this up at Walmart for under $30, and I am happy with this knife. I like it a lot. I haven't really carried it a whole lot, but that's just because I've been carrying other knives. But yeah, so this is a big knife. You know, it carries well, cuts well. The edge, it holds an edge for a while, and you can get it really sharp. You can see on the pocket clip there that there is a little bit of wear on it, so I have carried it. But yeah, I do like that knife. Next to it is a knife that I don't really like that much, and that's the Gerber Shark Belly. I bought this knife because, again, I thought it looked cool. I guess I think sheep's foot blades are kind of cool looking. Plus, it's got these weird serrations, and normally I'm not a fan of serrations, but these are just weird compared to like normal partially serrated blades. So yeah, this doesn't have any liners. It's just Palmer and the blade, and then the pivot screw and the back lock, and then the scales are made out of Palmer, and there's no liners in it. So, and this came with like a paper clip, pocket clip that it was garbage. It got caught on something, and nothing was ever the same ever again. So finally one day I ripped that off, and then it left a lot of blade play in the blade. And then I finally bought a Torx bit small enough to tighten down the pivot screw, and now the blade has almost no blade play again. Since it doesn't have a pocket clip on it, I put a little loop of paracord on there to pull it out of a pocket easier. I haven't carried it in a while, since I did the review on it anyway. So yeah. Next to that, I have the Case Mini Blackhorn. This is a tiny little lock back knife. I carried this for a little while in like my change pocket on my jeans because it's so small. Again, have the little loop on it. This is made out of a boot shoelace, so that I can pull it out of my pocket easier. It's just a nice little knife, and it's not scary looking or anything. If you just want to pull a knife out to, I don't know, peel an apple or open up a package or something, it's good for that. Next to that, I have an older knife. This is one of the first purchases I made after I got like a job and was making my own money and everything. I think this was like $13. And this is the Schrade SCH221OR. The OR is because it's the orange one. They also made a black one. Of course, I wanted the orange one because it's weird. You can see there's some wear on the scales. I think they're made out of steel, although they could be aluminum. I'm not really sure. You can see there's some wear on the scales because I did carry this for a while. The blade itself stays plenty sharp. I don't know what kind of steel it is or anything. Blade steel doesn't really bother me. I'd prefer a knife that's easy to sharpen, that the blade gets duller faster, than a knife like the Benchmade that stays sharp for a long time but then is a serious pain in the ass to sharpen. That's just my personal preference. But anyway, so this knife has some blade play in it and everything, but it's still more than usable. So, and I kind of like the orange scales. Definitely not my favorite knife, but it does still work. So this is a interesting knife here, because this obviously isn't really a main, like a name brand knife or whatever. I found this at a gun shop in their, like, I call it their bin of shit, kind of like bin of miscellaneous items that they have there. And it was like $2, and it had this cheap leather sheath with it. You know, it's a lockback knife. It's got wood and brass on it and everything. And it's huge, and it says a little ugly on the blade. And I don't know, I just thought it was cool. So for $2, I bought this because I thought it was cool. So that's in the collection now. Nothing fancy, nothing really cool, but I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool. And then I have a Buck 110, just a standard Buck 110. There's like fancy models and shit. This is just a standard one that you can get at Walmart for like $35 or whatever it is. You know, brass and wood, and the I think it's 420C or something like that, steel. But yeah, haven't really used this knife a whole lot, but when I go hiking, I do usually put it in the leather sheath on my belt and do carry it with me because I like to have a large blade with me, especially when I'm hiking. And then up here I have two fixed blades. I have a Schrade old timer sharp finger here, which again I haven't really carried all that much. For a while I was putting it on my belt when I was going fishing and stuff, but that stopped a little while ago. It's a cool looking knife, and it's like $20 or something like that, so you know, I don't really regret buying it or anything. Yeah, it's a cool knife. I might throw it in a backpack or something one of these days. I don't really ever carry it, so yeah. And then over here I have a knife that I do carry quite a bit, and that's my CRKT Minimalist, which is of course a neck knife. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to like the whole neck knife concept, so this was the knife that I bought to test that out. And, you know, I do like this knife, so it's pretty lightweight, and it's not uncomfortable to wear around my neck, so it's really comfortable to hold with those finger grooves and everything. But yeah, it's a nice little knife. So anyway, that's my current knife collection as of August of 2018.